Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going over the BFight210. There are also some places calling it BFlight, that's with an L. Just want to let you guys know that they are both exactly the same, probably just a typographical error. With the BFight210 you have 5 receiver options, just the usuals, Fly Sky, FR Sky, DSMX, and also a plug-and-play version if you want to install your own receiver. Anyways, as the name states, it's a 210mm mini quad that's not only durable, that's not only lightweight, that's not only powerful, but it's only $150. This thing is jam-packed with awesome hardware, and I have no doubt it's going to be an awesome flyer. Let's take a closer look and see what the BeeFlight is all about. You can tell they took a very minimalistic approach, nothing fancy. I feel like very little carbon was used. The arms are thick but narrow and should be pretty durable. After all, they measure 4mm thick. The rest of the frame consists of plates measuring just 1.5mm thick, which I think is part of the reason why we have such a lightweight frame. In total, the bare frame weighs an incredibly light 60 grams. That is pretty remarkable. Powering this super light frame are some 2205 brushless motors rated at 2300 kV, and it's more than sufficient to power the BeeFlight. The motor quality seems okay, not the best. It just looks a little rough around the edges. I'm thinking they forgot to replace the bits or blade or whatever that's used to machine these motors, because if you look at it up close you can clearly see rough edges. This quad's got a pretty nice FPV setup. First of all, we have a 960H camera which uses a CCD sensor and a 2.5mm lens. There's a couple of reasons why this camera is so cool. First, it actually has a little toggle on the back which allows you to adjust the camera's OSD settings, things like brightness, contrast, exposure, and much more. Second of all, it has a better resolution than your typical D1 camera with a resolution of 960 by 480 pixels compared to the D1 which has 720 by 480. The video format is switchable from NTSC to PAL through the OSD. The resolution is slightly different when you're in PAL. It's 960 by 582, and also the aspect ratio is 16 by 9. Here's a quick clip of what you can expect from this camera. Just keep in mind that it does look better in real life. The 960H offers high resolution, low noise, and a true color video footage. I think for a lot of people, the first time they fly with this thing, they'll feel a little bit weird. It took me a little time to get used to it, but now I really like it. Everything is more detailed, and it really is more vibrant over what I'm used to. The camera up tilt is pretty good. This is about where it stops because the flight controller stack prevents it from going back any further. To remove the top plate, just unscrew these 4 screws, and also just give it a little tug because the top plate also holds the camera mount. As for the video transmitter, it uses 30.5mm mounting holes, which means it fits perfectly with the flight controller and ESC. It definitely makes for a clean looking setup. And this isn't your typical run-of-the-mill transmitter either. There's a wire running from the VTX to the S-Bus pad on the flight controller, which allows you to switch channels using a switch on your radio. The channel switcher is tied to channel 6, which for many might be the flight mode, so just be aware of this because if you hit that switch mid-flight, get ready for a snowy surprise. This is a 5.8 GHz VTX with 48 channels, and you have the option of running it in either 25 or 200 milliwatts, which is a really great feature. You can use the higher power when you're flying by yourself in an open area, or if you're going to be flying with some friends, you can quickly change it over to the 25 milliwatts just so that you don't bleed into other channels and piss people off. Just like the camera, you can switch between NTSC and PAL video modes. And lastly, which is my favorite part about this transmitter, you actually have the option of using either a dipole antenna or this SMA adapter where you can connect your own antenna. I've been using the dipole and really I could not be more happy with it. Not only is it lightweight and durable, but the video reception has been great. There is still some breakup, especially when you're flying behind objects, but in the grand scheme of things, it's the better antenna for sure. So, just a heads up, before I was even able to get a flight in, my flight controller stopped working. Still haven't figured out what happened. I set everything up at my house, just changed a few settings in BetaFlight. Just normal procedure. I guess somewhere in between the time of me running errands and heading to the park later that day, my flight controller just stopped working. I feel like it's just some stupid little thing that I'm doing, or maybe that I'm not doing. Either that or I just have really bad luck with these omnibus boards. Just in the past 2 months, I've collected 4 boards that stopped working out of the blue. There's no crashes, no damage, no smoke. I guess just bad luck. So yeah, just a heads up, I'm using a different flight controller, but everything else will be the same. So hopefully you can get at least an idea of how this quad will perform in this review. Alright, so the flight controller that was in here was an Omnibus F3, which is actually a really good flight controller. It's packed with features like built-in BetaFlight OSD, current sensor, it's even got an SD card slot in case you want to use black box. It's also very fast. You can run 8K gyro with this board, all the while maintaining a low CPU load, so it's definitely a great board. I've just personally had bad luck with them. And underneath the flight controller we have a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC, which is BLHeli S, and it's capable of all options from 1 shot all the way up to D-Shot 600. The use of a 4-in-1, it's a great way of reducing weight. If you think about it, there are extra wiring that's no longer needed, less solder on all the boards, and the biggest part is the weight of the 4 circuit boards. By itself, it's not something you would feel, but in the big picture, every gram starts adding up. This kit also includes some Gemfan 5152s. They are 3-bladed and are one of my favorite props. I mean, this thing produces a ton of power and are amazingly durable. I'm still actually on my first set, even after I've crashed like a bunch of times. They actually hold their shape surprisingly well. They are also by far the sharpest out of any prop I've used, so make sure you keep your fingers away. I'm betting on full throttle, this thing will slice your fingers right off. Also, we have some instructions on how to use the video transmitter, as well as information on the camera and flight controller. Definitely you want to check this out. And last of all, they included some zip ties and heat shrink, just so that you can hold your antenna up, as well as some Velcro straps, which I'm not going to use. I'm just not a fan of this style of a battery strap. Alright, so enough talking, let's head to the park for some flight tests. You know that clip at the beginning of this video? That was actually my very first flight with this quad. Somehow I accidentally hit the arm switch while I was like, I would say at least 150 to 200 feet in the air, and I guess I was just too slow to rearm and my quad dropped like a ton of bricks. What surprised me was nothing broke, not even a prop. So I mean, this thing, if you thought it wasn't durable, it can take a crash. This quad's got a ton of power. I don't think it should surprise anyone. When you have a frame that is as light as this, even if the motors were mediocre in power, you would still have a powerful quad. This just shows how much influence weight plays when it comes to performance. It's one of the most important factors when it comes to a race quad. Another thing I like about this quad is the sound. It screams, but it screams in a smooth, quiet manner, if that makes any sense at all. Very responsive. And it's just got a ton of power. Honestly, I could punch out at 75% throttle and it would be similar to some of my older quads. It's so crazy how things have progressed in such a short time. Alright, let's check out some FPV footage. I'm using the included dipole antenna and an Eachine DVR connected to a BeeRotor BVone headset. I think it might be the aspect ratio, but I felt a little weird when I flew this quad in FPV for the first time. I was actually a little disoriented, but now I'm starting to really like it. If you're looking for a pre-built 5-incher, look no further than the BFight210. This is one of the best, if not the best, bang for your buck quadcopter available. It's going to be hard to beat something that performs as good as this and is priced as good as this. I mean, 150 bucks? That's crazy. There are micros that cost more than this. Not only does it perform amazingly, it's got a lot of cool features too. I mean, the VTX, where you can change channels using your transmitter, plus a built-in Betaflight OSD, current sensor, micro SD card flight logging. It's got a bunch of cool features, but most importantly, it flies really good, which is why it's now my daily flyer.